Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is love. Let's take a look at some of the definitions or ways that we can use this verb. What you're going to see here is that all three definitions that I've identified are pretty closely related. So the first way you might hear the verb love used is to mean to feel deep affection for someone or something. You'll hear people talk about love of their friends, love of pets, etc., love of many different activities even. A second way you'll hear the verb loved is to refer to to feel a deep romantic attachment to someone. So with this definition, we're thinking of spouses, other couples that maybe are just dating, but again, deep affection, romantic attachment, they're sometimes all connected. A third way to hear the verb love used is to mean to like or enjoy very much. So earlier this week, like was one of our verbs of the day. And just think of sort of strengthening or increasing the intensity of a feeling here with this particular verb. You should know that love is a regular verb. If you wanted to put this verb in the progressive tense, you would drop an E and then add ing. But I want to note, if you are doing more formal or academic writing, then I'm going to encourage you not to use this particular verb in any progressive tenses because the verb is considered to be stated or a non-action verb. Now, I'll tell you very informally, you hear people say like, oh, I'm loving this new TV show, or something like that. And we understand what they mean. You don't need to correct them. But from like a technical grammatical standpoint, they could just say, I love this new TV show. We don't really need the progressive tense. If, though, we want to make our verb past tense or use a participle form, one of the perfect tenses, then all we need to do is add the letter D since this verb already ends in an E. The base verb, love, ends with this voiced V sound. So our past tense ending is just going to make a D sound. Loved, loved. You'll be happy to know I don't have any additional meanings in combination with phrasal verbs, so that will allow us to focus on making sentences in the present perfect and the simple future using be going to today. Let's start with the present perfect. You might remember we're using this verb tense to either describe an action that started in the past and it continues into the present, or an action that occurred at some unknown point in time in the past. You might hear various teachers, like me, refer to this as the indefinite past time. Indefinite past. So we don't know, was it yesterday? Was it 10 years ago? And that just might not matter. To make the present perfect, we're going to start with have or has. And that will depend on our subject. So if our subject is I, you, we, or they, we'll use have. And then if our subject is he, she, or it, we'll use has. And then we're going to use that participle form of the verb. It happens to just be the same as past tense because it's a regular verb. Here's an example sentence. He has loved proving his doubters wrong. I saw this sentence in an article about a particular athlete who felt that his abilities were questioned. Many people said, like, oh, he's not that good. He won't have that long of a career. And at various points in time, he has proved these critics or people who doubted his ability wrong. Now, if I want to make a negative sentence in the present perfect, I'm going to insert not after have or has. You might hear many people use the contraction forms haven't or hasn't. Here's another example sentence. They haven't loved working for that company. We're also going to take a look at making a yes or no question in the present perfect. To do that, we'll start with have or has. That'll depend on our subject. And then after that, we will use our participle. Now, I have two example sentences to illustrate something that I think is kind of important or helpful to remember. So here's one question. Has she always loved to paint? Or I could say, has she always loved painting? So we know in English that sometimes after a verb, we must use the infinitive, that's to plus a verb. Other times we must use a gerund, which is that ing or progressive looking form of the verb. But love is a special verb where you can use either one. It doesn't matter, it's going to have the same meaning. So either one of those sentences is just fine. Now let's take a look at making simple future sentences using be going to. The only thing that is maybe a little bit tricky about this is remembering our present forms of be. So I am, he, she, it is, they, we, you, are. And then after that present form of be, am, is, are, is going to be going to, and then our base verb. So here is an affirmative example. You are going to love these sales. Right? So here someone might be using this to make a rather strongly worded prediction about how someone is going to react or feel about a particular situation. Now, if I want to make a negative simple future sentence using be going to, I just need to insert not after my be verb. So we can use am not, or we could say is not or isn't. We can say are not or aren't. So here's another example. She isn't going to love the test. That is something I have said to myself many times about various students. Finally, if you want to make a yes or no question in the simple future using be going to, we'll start with our present form of be that matches our subject, which comes next, and then we'll have going to and our base verb. Are our guests going to love the food? Now, let's take a look at some words that are related to our verb. And the first one we're going to look at has the exact same spelling and the exact same pronunciation. It's just the noun form, love. Like our verb, this could have a couple different meanings. We'll look at them individually and an example sentence. So love can refer to an intense feeling of deep affection. And this ties back to that first definition of the verb we looked at. So an example of this could be, they have been in love for many years. Another way to use love as a noun is to mean an affectionate greeting that is conveyed to someone or shared with someone on another person's behalf. So an example of how you might hear this used is, give your mom my love. So I'm talking maybe to my friend and I want her to share that I am suggesting I'm thinking of her, I hope she's well, and that's the phrase there, loves me. A third way to use the noun love is to mean a great interest and pleasure in something. An example of that, his love of cooking is obvious. So really strong interest and pleasure in the action or activity of cooking. A final way you might hear love used is in the sport of tennis, and that's referring to a score of 0. So you might hear, if you're following the Australian Open, which is happening right now, you might hear an announcer say something like, the score is 15 love. So 15, just another way to say 0. Another related word is the adjective lovely. It can mean exquisitely beautiful. Here's an example of this word in a sentence. Her daughter is a lovely girl. The next word we'll look at is lovable. This is also an adjective, but it means that someone or something is inspiring or deserving of love and affection. Here's an example. The new baby animals are so lovable. If you ever follow zoo cams, there have been some recent births, and for many people, just the sight of those animals inspires sort of some affection. The last word we're going to look at today is the adverb lovingly. It means with love or great care. Here's an example of this adverb in a sentence. The old couple always smiles lovingly at one another. So the look that they give is done with love or great care. Now, I hope you noticed a pattern in this week's videos. We talked about the verbs like, hug, kiss, and love. And the reason I did it was in advance of Valentine's Day, which is on February 14th. I hope these videos will give you the chance to maybe use some of these verbs as you express your love and affection for others. Thanks so much for watching this video. Have a great day.